Greetings. This is CJG here, coming to you with, well, a short story from one of our favorite Sith Lords from the prequels, which, he was one of our favorites. Then TCW decided to change him a bit, and now we're kind of split on it. And some of that stuff, we're going to discuss it here. And what I mean, I'm talking about our good old boy, Darth Maul. In this podcast, we're going to be reviewing the Wrath of Darth Maul. Yep. And joining me here, I got...
the always dependable Captain Henson.
And this is the Spider-Fan Maniac, returning for another ECW Maul-related topic.
It won't be the last one, so yeah. So, without further ado, I guess we shall begin with, well, a brief story summary from this. So, well, in this one, we first go with Darth Maul training with Darth Sidious, and goes from Mustafar to then going to another planet called, what was the name of that planet? It was a weird planet where he trained with rocks and shit.
There was a guy called Trezza. He trained under.
I remember the droid, D99. I remember that droid.
That was in Mustafar. And he later went to Hypori or something, or whatever.
Isn't that like after he finishes the training?
Anyway, I'm not sure about the order of events, though.
Well, point being, this book is basically like a recollection of flashbacks of what Darth Maul's experiencing while he's basically trying to survive in Lotho Minor, the planet that we see him in TCW for the first time with the spiral legs, all mentally just not just broken, more like not being there, like just fragments of him. And then of course Savage Press finds him in the end, so he's just reliving his moments from his training to Darth Sidious, to then working for him, to then pretty much, of course, his end at the hands of Obi-Wan during the Battle of Naboo. So it's pretty much all of that. It's just a collection of summaries and flashbacks from Maul's past. That is the basic gist of it. And yeah, we go from one part to one part to one part. First, it is Maul's training with Sidious, when he was like a child to teenager, and of course into an adult. So yeah, what are you guys gonna say on his training with Darth Sidious?
Okay, so General did start about Maul's history. Earliest history does start with him training, but in fact, this book actually starts at the TCW episode, right?
Yep.
It's like, it's not even avoidable. It's like, at least Darth Plagueis, right, had the excuse that it's one section, right? As in, like, you skip over that, and that part is never mentioned again. This book, right, this book does not hide its intentions. This book outright states this is a TCW tie-in.
I mean, to be fair, you're writing a book about, let's face it, the only reason this book exists is because of TCW. Look at the other books in this series. Anakin / Vader, Luke, and Obi-Wan. And then you have Darth Maul. Like, tell me, out of those four, which one of those stands out?
In a good way or a bad way?
Well, what I mean is, you have, again, Anakin, Luke, Obi-Wan.
Okay,
three of the major characters of the 6 films. But then you have Darth Maul, who was only relevant for one of those movies. But his personality meant nothing. He was just a means to an end in that movie. The only reason this book exists is because Maul was back for TCW, so it just made sense to release a book basically acting as the Plagueis for Darth Maul material. Of course, this book was going to reference TCW. That's the only reason this book exists.
You want to know something interesting? I just realized that the book actually came out before the episode of Darth Maul being found by Savage Press.
That doesn't really surprise me. But
I mean,
Just with
that's
scheduling, of course the book would release prior to the episodes airing.
well. Here's another context. I mean, yes, while that could be true, but there was this other episode which has Mother Talzin looking in a crystal or something, and then it shows Maul still being alive. So, I mean, it was already done.
Well, it was set up, but then not. We don't officially see him until that. What was it? Brother? I think the episode was Brothers. Regardless, like, don't get me wrong. The whole TCW and EU discussion is certainly still alive and kicking, but like, let's not mince words. This book is meant to be a TCW tie-in. Because, I mean, think about it like this. Oh, Darth Maul, he's returned in this animated series. Hey, kids, you want to learn more about Darth Maul? Oh, here's this nifty book you can buy that's at your grade level. Like, that's all this book is.
Considering what you guys said, in particular you, Henson, regarding this book's made specifically for TCW tie-in, does this book bring anything to the table that we actually need?
I mean, there are some original information. It's not just simply, references to other EU materials.
I mean, like, we have the whole bit with his droid being described with spider-like legs, which then informs you that, oh, that's why he gave himself spider legs in TCW.
Oh, it was
Because
himself?
of his memory of this droid.
I thought somebody had given him the spider legs. I didn't know that it was himself.
Well, I mean,
And it was some kind of a weird symbiotic relationship between the legs and himself.
the point being, this book explains why why it's spider legs and literally anything else.
I mean, also there was the references to the old Sith Lords, and then I found this really interesting because in here Darth Bane is mentioned once again, and it is more reference as in like couldn't really believe what it says is Darth Maul decided to make the rule of no not Darth Maul. Darth Bane decided to make the rule of two because he thought like multiple Siths being around each other would eventually, have all of them try to kill each other. That's why he made the rule of two. And that made me thinking, Ryder Windham is not referencing Darth Bane trilogy. He's mentioning pre-Darth Bane trilogy.
Yeah,
Darth-
Because as we all know, the sole reason he created the Rule of Two was because he was a massive Revan fanboy.
I mean, it really shocked me when I was reading that. There was no, multiple Sith Lords being together reduces the power, or, about the fact that, Darth Bane, he himself was responsible for having the thought bomb to, kill the Sith. No, that part is not mentioned.
Or him finding Rowan's holocron.
Yeah, I mean, Revan and Malek, I think they are mentioned.
They
but
are.
more like
Yes, they are.
more like as a reference to say, well, they're the reason why the whole, Sith Lords being using the Dark title being mentioned. Of course, they don't mention the whole stupid thing about, the Brother of Darkness saying Dark title is causing conflict or some bullshit like that.
It does say that there are some historians that believe that Darth is a contraction of Dark and Sith, while others suggest it was a corruption of Dorita, an ancient Rakatan word for emperor. Like, that's the most the book talks in regards to that word, the Darth title. It also even ends with saying, in any event, the honorific Darth was introduced to the Sith Lords. So that's the most we get out of that from this book. Like, the most. We don't use that Darth title because we just don't like it. That sort of shit. So, as much.
I always just find it interesting how, like, Revan and Malak always seem to be referenced when, like, in the grand scheme of things, would they really be as referenced as they are?
You think they're being referenced a lot because Knights of the Old Republic is so damn popular, won plenty of awards and everything, 2003, and LucasArts just can't let it go?
like, I think the only reason why Revan is so fucking important in that first Bane book is just because of Drew Karpyshyn.
Oh, that
I
too.
mean,
Yeah.
it also you need to, know it because like this was the time around like early days of SWTOR. Brand recognition is brand recognition.
There is that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I really appreciated about the Plagueis novel was referencing the Sith Lords of KOTOR 2. Because, like, who else is gonna fucking do that?
Well, this book did not do that. So there's another source that doesn't do it.
Just reference other sources. We have the usual Exar Kun and Ula Keldroma because,
Of
sure,
course.
why not? And then there's the old Sith Lord like Naga Sadao and Frida Not.
Yeah.
You just
But
gotta keep on referencing Tales of the Jedi.
I mean that's fine, and I guess you can reference quarter one, but quarter two once again missing because I guess that one once again most people don't want to reference it for some godforsaken
Because-
reason.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, I guess nothing of importance happened in that game. So Maul's training on Mustafar, pretty much what I'd expect out of his training. And there are bits I like here, like him making a mistake at one point, and Sidious not punishing him until like weeks later.
Yeah, apparently Maul was afraid of an animal that apparently can poison him.
And there was the whole thing about Maul making friends with the droid. Was it friends or I'm not sure about that.
Having some sort of friendship.
My reading of that was the droid was fond of him, but obviously just due to the nature of what was going on, needed to, lie about it.
Because Sidious.
And then was it Sidious who destroyed the droid? I think that's what happened.
Yeah, Sidious destroyed the droid, and Maul had no reaction to it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Dinko, the creature that pretty much Maul was like afraid of.
Now, it's been a while since I read the Episode 1 journal, so I don't remember what exactly is this book takes from that. Can someone remind me?
I mean, the few things I do remember is Maul being from Iridonia. Wait, was it from there?
Oh, yeah. In regards to that, I actually made a note of that. So, according to this book, Sidious says, you may have been born on the planet Iridonia, but you came to my attention in another world, Dathomir. There, the females rule and enslave the males. You were just an infant, and yet the most powerful beings in Dathomir were afraid of you. They wanted you dead because you were different.
Okay, so, like, this begs the question, is Sidious just, like, making that up, or is Ryder Windham, like, actually trying to reconcile?
No, it's not. Let me explain. So the TCW does mention this episode. So, Obi-Wan asked a question about Maul to, I think, Windu or something.
It was Windu, yes.
And then he explains, like, the Zabraks of Dathomir, they are born in Iridonia, but then they're took to Dathomir to be, serve as Night Brothers or slaves.
Man, it's been so long since I've watched the show, I completely forgot about that.
That is... But isn't that kind of a contradiction of sorts? Because in the Plagueis book, isn't he like an infant carried by a Night Sister in there? Like a baby?
Yeah, I mean, it still is a contradiction because, as we know, the original way the story was said is like Sidious originally found Maul at the streets of Iridonia or something, and then, Plagueis / TCW / Wrath of Darth Maul is saying, well, you were a baby when you were in Dathomir.
And then, of course, just a few years later, we got Son of Dathomir release, which revealed that Maul was Talzin's son.
Yeah, and not when saying son, I mean as in biological son.
Although we do get a hint of that in this book, what with her being so interested in getting him back.
Yeah, let's not get into that. Not now. That's a whole different ranting topic.
I mean, although I really don't see why. I mean, if that is supposed to be a lie, he wouldn't have any reason to lie about
What?
that.
I
Or at least
mean,
withholding the information of, oh, this night sister is your mother from him.
as we see in it, this was kind of based on the outline of Dark Plagueis, so we could assume that he wasn't lying.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, we know from the acknowledgments that Windham and Lucino exchanged notes during the development process of both their books. So,
Well, at least there's more consistency between this thing and Dark Plagueis than Labyrinth of Evil and Micro series.
Does make
Right.
sense given that Darth Plagueis released just like a few days after the Wrath of Darth Maul released.
of course, Plagueis was in development hell for, what, since 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that. but even still, Ryder Windham is one of those EU authors that he does like to get sources from as many as he can, as far as I can recall. I mean, hell, you can see his other previous books pretty much say that from Anakin Skywalker. Looks like, so. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he also took as much as he could, but also he has to deal with the nonsense for TCW. So yeah.
But don't expect a lot of ridiculous amounts of sources. Like, don't expect the plot of Shadowhunter being summarized here, or Darth
Yeah, I
Maul.
mean, the events of the 4-issue miniseries are only, dropped in, one sentence and only as a, oh yeah, Maul dealt with the Black Sun at some point.
Yeah, I know that those two events are much more important in Darth Plagueis' book because Lucino
Yeah,
actually not only referenced those, but
yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like you have Plagueis, which is an adult novel, weaving pretty much every or as many Phantom Menace sources together as possible and having it all make sense and cohesive. So this young reader book not going in depth with it, I mean, fair enough, I guess. But, it would be nice for a book detailing Darth Maul's life to, give us a bit more insight because, I mean, look at the Darth Maul miniseries. That's a comic. We don't get to go into Darth Maul's head. So, what was Darth Maul thinking when he met a fucking Night Sister and fought her?
well, from what we know,
In the
just killed her.
context of he knows who the Night Sisters are, he's interacted with them before. They tried to kidnap him once. Does he have
Nah.
what's his thought process there?
So,
Or what does he think about taking out all the Vigos of Black Sun? But we just skip over that to go through the Phantom Menace in a very weird and bizarre way that doesn't really line up well based on his characterization here. Ugh.
okay, next section after where were we?
We were talking about Maul's, training with Sidious and with the droid and stuff.
So, after he basically quote unquote, or does as much as he can with Sidious sends him to, was it Osis Academy?
Yeah.
Didn't they go
And,
together?
Palpatine, dresses up as
a blind man or some shit.
some, injured, it's like a rich guy who has trouble seeing, not exactly blind, and, pays off the head of this academy.
Oh, fun fact about this academy. It's not really related to this book, but do you know Kratos?
What about it?
Oscar's father. Oscar's father also graduated from this academy.
What? That's something.
That's interesting, I guess.
Is there, in any other source material, reference to a massacre that took place at this academy?
This story, is based on Darth Maul Endgame, right? Wait, no, it's Restraint. So it does absolutely reference, not base, more like it literally pulls out from it. restraint. Like,
I mean, I was referring to a non-Darth Maul story referencing this. Like, was there a did a earlier work talk about a massacre at Osa's Academy, or is this event just created for this story?
Let me check that really quickly. And this has only been referenced in the Essential Reader's Companion and the Clone Wars Darth Maul Shadow Conspiracy and the Bounty
Yeah.
Hunter's Code, but that's it.
oh,
So
speaking of
sources released after the fact.
Yeah, that's all we get.
Up to Academy, you get to see a Mandalorian trainer. And the book, surprisingly, just mentions the Mandalorian Civil War. It just talks about two factions fighting against each other, which we know is about the, true Mandalorians fighting against the Death Watch. It doesn't mention, Satine and their new Mandalorians, which are like, okay, that's surprising. Not complaining, just surprising.
Yeah, my best guess as to why this Mando guy is here, probably to set up Maul being aware of how they operate by the time we reach TCW.
Yeah, like a precursor source of him eventually leading the
Because
Mandalorians.
so much of this book is just setting up and justifying
Everything.
his characterization and his actions in TCW. So I would not be surprised if Ryder Windham was told, or maybe saw some outlines or whatever of their plans for Maul, and incorporated them into this.
And let's see. Okay, so it's not explained in this book, but as said in Darth Maul Restraint, he is also Death Watch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it all fits in. Like Maul later goes to Pre-Vizsla, hangs out with the Death Watch, and then later takes over.
So this section of the book, I was vibing with Sidious training Maul and everything that was going on there. All that was making sense to me.
Yeah.
But we get to this part, and this is the part where it doesn't feel like I'm reading Darth Maul, and I want to I don't want to do the prequel argument of, oh, this isn't how Darth Vader's supposed to act, so this is bad. My issue with this is that just again, based off the character we got in the Phantom Menace, and then pre-Phantom Menace material we got as well, Sidious trained Maul to be just an effective weapon, and nothing beyond that. Yeah, I'm sure he is smart. He would have to be smart to some degree to do the shit he does, but he's not plotting or planning or anything like that. He's told to do something, so he has a narrow mind, narrow vision, and fucking does it. But here, though, we see him actually making friends and getting emotionally attached to people, particularly that Nautilin girl whom I'm spacing on the name of.
You mean Kalindi?
Is that her name?
It's the same species as Kit Fisto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's Kalindi Matako, the Natolan female, yeah.
Yeah, clean. So, I don't know. This just does not feel like that character at all. I don't know the purpose of writing Maul this way instead of just having him be trained as that weapon. If I had to guess, this was to, give him more of an air of tragedy, but, I don't think that works for this character.
Oh, there's also interesting thing in the Academy section. You might not remember, but here is the character called Osika Kursuke.
Mm-hmm.
And why this character is interesting is because this character is the one from Asajj Ventress's past, where the guy who killed Asajj Ventress's parents. Yeah, I mean, it's not a random reference. Well, it was a random reference in Restraint, but this was based on Restraint, so yeah.
I guess there's that. Now that you mention it, Henson, in regards to Maul making friends, I'm just like trying to picture in my head how that goes, cause wouldn't have by this point he gotten like so many like scars, all sorts of battle damage, hell even some of the tattoos that he wears on his face and stuff by being a Sith Lord. Like wouldn't he look like a monster at this point, or is he still trying to make him look like a decent sentient being? Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, what was Sidious's justification for sending him to the academy? Was it just to like train him more in combat?
I mean, I think that was the point, because if you remember, I think Sidious does mention like the guy who runs the academy, Treza. He can somehow smell Force sensitives when they're using the Force or something. I don't know how that works, but he can apparently smell that.
Force sensitive, I guess.
Yeah, so it was to train him in all sorts of combat techniques without relying on the Force. You could actually see how competent Maul is in fighting without the Force if you read Maul Lockdown.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Although you could have, I feel like you could have still hired like private trainers instead of going through this whole like charade.
Also,
But
not to mention, since this is Sidious, he could even train him himself, no problem. Well, maybe not always, but every once in a while.
Let me remind you, that is a criticism for restraint, not Wrath of Darth Maul.
but I mean, like, what came first though? Like,
Restraint.
Restraint.
or was this book already in development and then Lucino decided to write Restraint?
I mean, Restraint came out in like December 27th of 2011, and January 1st of 2012 was Wrath of Darth Maul. So Lucino was already thinking about that when he wrote the Restraint short story. But many of the criticism, I'm not saying that I disagree with it, but that criticism is a fundamental issue with Restraint and Endgame, if it does exist.
According to Wikipedia, it claims that this story, Restraint, it helped connect major changes in Maul's and Asajj Ventress's origins that were introduced in the third season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Oh, and that it also features Darth Maul, Talcin, Melch, Crackle, Tress, and Palpatine. So, yeah, I guess no one may have an argument.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, from the sounds of it, I guess Restraint was in development first, and then when Lucino and Windham were talking, Windham was able to incorporate all of that and the Plagueis stuff into it.
And then Darth Maul, yeah.
Well, okay, regardless of all that, like, personally speaking, I would have just changed this section a bit just to have Maul not be a tragic character, because, like, in my opinion, like, I'd say the tragedy of Maul originally was just the fact that he was a child who was trained to be a weapon, and that was all he was. He never had the chance Anakin did to just walk away to make another choice. He never had a choice. But here, though, I mean, yeah, sure, he's still under Sidious's thumb, but like, he still had choices he could have made. Like, Sidious didn't beat the free will out of him, like I imagine he would have and did initially before, this later material changed that.
This book actually it seems that at first he's removing the free will, but then the academy stuff comes in, and that's where we're no longer like wondering if he's actually losing his free will or not.
Like, the way I envision Maul based off of the pre-TCW material is that Sidious got Maul at a young age, whatever that may have been, and then just trained him non-stop and turned him into a living weapon. And that's just all he was, pretty much his entire life.
I mean,
like, this whole thing with him interacting with other people, it doesn't mesh well with that older material. Like, Sidious, I mean, books like, or stories like this act like Sidious did really have larger plans for Maul, when, like, earlier material made it very clear that Sidious did not give a single fuck about Maul. If he lost Maul, oh well. But stuff like this says the opposite, where, like, he actually, like, seems to want Maul to like do great things for him rather than just be a dog who can just die and not mean anything.
Hell, there is actually one point at the beginning of this book that Sidious promises Maul that eventually Maul be stronger than Sidious, if that's even possible.
I mean, like, if I remember correctly, like, in early material, I'm pretty sure Maul was okay with just being his lapdog. Like, he didn't care about usurping him at all. He was fine being what he was.
The description as written in Shadowhunter mainly looks like Maul doesn't care about where he came from. Like, he heard that he came from Iridonia, but like, meh, I don't care. Like, his only sole thing was serving his master, and like, I mean, yeah, that was his character. Like, a devoted dog doing the mission of his master, that, or, you know, the Sith grand plan. But then, eventually, it's kind of impossible just to write stories about Maul just being on his own without interacting with another person. And this problem especially is noticeable in Lockdown, where Maul has to basically interact with a lot of people, forming alliances, you know, and especially the whole thing about taking care of that kid at the end of the Maul Lockdown.
By the way, I actually have here what you mentioned, Henson. The passage is like this. I did not always live here. I'm told by my master that I come from Meridonia. That world means nothing to me. I have no curiosity about my home planet. I could travel there to see where I came from, but what would be the point? I am interested in what I am, and what I will become. My life before I was a Sith is meaningless. What was my name? I don't know. It doesn't matter. My former name represents a death, not a life. I died and was born into a Sith. I was found by my master and taken as a baby. My parents might have looked for me, but no one in the galaxy can track a Sith who doesn't want to be found. They were powerless.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is like, Henson's claim about Maul's interaction and, you know, friendship building, yeah, that is an issue with this book. But I don't think it's as much of an issue like Lockdown, because Lockdown is this times a million.
I mean, yeah, Lockdown had the problem of Maul being put in a position where he had to plan and scheme and do all these things that character was just never intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Maul is not a schemer. He's just a guy who you need to point in the right direction, say, hey, kill those people in that building there, and he'll just fucking do it. Yeah, Lockdown is worse in that department, but like, at least in Lockdown, he's not actually like emotionally connecting with anyone like he is here. Like, yeah, he's a teenager here, but still, I just don't see a teenage Maul caring at all about other people. Like, he should be, at this point, completely apathetic and just enjoying the torture, which he still does. He's still a sociopath here, but like, the fact that he has a friend, an actual honest-to-God friend. Now, like, the one redeeming factor here is when Sidious tells him to just murder everyone. Like, he does so without question, and when he gets to his friend, I mean, they have a brief exchange, which, like, fair enough. Maul has done brief exchanges before with his victims, so like, at least there's that for me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, honestly, like, Maul is not meant to be a protagonist, or at least he wasn't designed to be the protagonist.
Unless you do it like how it happened in Shadowhunter, in some sort of way like that.
No, that was
that character is so simple that he works really well in the comic. Because,
Maul really wasn't a protagonist in Shadowhunter either. It was more like, what was that guy called? Was it Paban?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paban and that whatever girl Jedi were the protagonists of the book, and Maul was more like the Terminator. You know, you saw the first Terminator, right? Who constantly goes after the two protagonists.
The antagonist, yeah.
Yeah. So no, Maul, like, we know, like, Terminator is not the protagonist of the Terminator. That's the same thing. Maul is not the protagonist of his own book. more like the antagonist constantly going after the protagonist.
I mean,
Because
it's like I said, he works well in a comic like the 2000 miniseries because as a character, you don't need to go into the head of because there's like nothing there. He is, I mean, not saying he's stupid, but he has a one-track mind. Like, what you see is what you get with him. His design is his entire personality. Literally.
I
So,
mean, there could be other art, interpretation. More like there was this episode one adventures version of Darth Maul, which was like he does have a first person perspective, but more like considering all these people who try to interact with him with the most disdain and annoyance possible, like only talking when it's absolutely necessary.
Are you talking about the episode 1 Adventures 3, The Fury of Darth Maul?
Yeah, those books has Darth Maul more like doing his mission, and when he has to interact with people, like he does not hide the fact that he has disdain for other people. Like he doesn't even like the fact that he has to talk to other people, and that is the reason why he has droids like C3PX, which is like barely talks to him other than you know mission details or what's necessary surrounding the environment.
You want to know a fun fact? That episode 1 Adventures book, the one of Darth Maul, it was also written by Ryder Windham.
Yeah, I mean, but you also need to know that, right? Because Ryder Windham's mindset writing that book is from the prequel era mindset. He's writing in the mindset of TCW mindset when reading this thing, so it's a completely different two mindsets.
That begs the question if he either was doing it because he found it interesting or because he was forced to do it like that. My money's going a bit on the forced, considering that we got that in Darth Plagueis, where it does feel like the origin of Maul was forced in there. So I'm going with that angle, but maybe you guys think opposite. Maybe Ryder Windham wanted to write Darth Maul in this TCW type scenario now. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know much about the behind the scenes of this book, but like my reading of it is, I mean, was he commissioned to write this book? Like, did Lucasfilm go to him to write this book?
Let me check that quickly if there's any info on that.
I'm not sure about whether that's the thing, but as you can see, Ryder Windham was the person who's writing these. What do you say? Okay, I'm not sure whether the children's storybook is a correct description, but
They're
mostly those.
they're usually called like junior novelizations or even young readers. Like that's the most they call it. Because he also did the junior novelizations of the original trilogy.
And he, right, like he wrote the Darth Vader one, he wrote the Obi-Wan Kenobi one, he also wrote the Luke Skywalker one, so like, sure. I mean, if someone has to write it right, it should be Ryder Windham, because like you see a consistency in the work.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bad writer. He's probably one of the very good ones, if you ask me. It's just... this is more of a case of the surrounding material regards to the specific character, and maybe Lucasfilm's mandates was causing the issues here, not so much Ryder Windham himself. You know, this is no...
I would imagine Lucasfilm went to him, told him, okay, we want you to write these young reader life and times books of like these specific characters. Do it. So he does, and of course that would require him to, understand and know that there's material those characters exist in. So of course when it comes to Darth Maul, you have to acknowledge TCW. So you have to reconcile that element with the other material. So, I mean, maybe he didn't like the TCW changes, but, unless we get word from him, we'll never know.
I'm looking for it right now.
Like Lucino, just based on how that section of Plagueis is written, the fact that you can remove that section easily, that tells me, maybe I am reading too much into it, but like, that tells me that he just wanted to get that section over with. Like, yes, Maul's a fucking Night Brother from Dathomir. Just, yeah, I have to put that in there, but like, okay, it's there. Let's just move the fuck on and never acknowledge it again. But this book, though, Wrath of Darth Maul makes frequent references to TCW.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, again, that's not really saying anything in terms of what Windham thinks, but, like, it tells me that he put in the effort, and at least an attempt, to try and reconcile TCW with the rest of the EU there.
I got an answer, Henson. Got an answer from one of the interviews Ryder Windham did. So, according to the question, the Star Wars biography series for young readers has had 4 installments based on the lives of Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, and now Darth Maul. How did this series come to be? Scholastic editor, and here's the answer that Ryder Windham did. Scholastic editor David Lettingham contacted me in 2006, asking if I'd be interested in writing a novel that was essentially the Star Wars saga from the perspective of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. The publishing plan was to release the novel in 2007 and exploit the 30th anniversary of Star Wars. I already written the junior novelizations of Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi for Scholastic, so Vader's life was definitely familiar territory. But I thought it was a great opportunity to do something slightly different. I had no idea Scholastic was planning more biographies beyond the Vader book, and I'm not involved in planning at all. For each biography, Lucasfilm and Scholastic editors chose the main character to focus on, and then Scholastic contacts me. I've joked that I'll eventually write Arturito's memoirs, and the entire book will be in binary code. So there you go. It was more Lucasfilm contacting.
It was Lucasfilm's idea. They contact Scholastic to find an author, and then Scholastic contacts Windham.
Because like he was the guy who did the 3 other books previously.
Yeah. There is also another question that expands on in regards to the biographies, because the question actually goes that how has his approach to the subjects of the biographies changed over the last 4 volumes? And for Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, he initially was instructed to just focus primarily on writing an adaptation of every scene featuring Anakin and Vader in the movies. He doesn't remember why. The quote is, I can't remember why, but Lucasfilm was somewhat hesitant to let me incorporate a lot of details from the expanded universe. I very politely protested, suggesting that readers would expect something more than a replay of Anakin and Vader in the movies. The expanded universe information will be new for a lot of young readers. I was also keen on adding some new tidbits, like how Anakin and his mother ride on Tatooine, how they met Watto, not because I wanted to claim bragging rights for script in those particular moments, but because I thought such sequences would help shape Anakin's character. So it's my idea to tell the story in a somewhat non-linear fashion, beginning with Vader just before the events of Return of the Jedi, and then flashing back to Anakin Skywalker's childhood and proceeding up through the end. After the novel was released, young readers enjoyed it, but a good number of older readers complained that it didn't contain more new material. And so from there, they encouraged him to do more expanded universe, create new scenes. For the Luke Skywalker book, he was further encouraged to develop new sequences, including an adventure for Luke after the events of Return of the Jedi. He couldn't resist resurrecting an old enemy from the Star Wars comic strip by Archie Goodwill and Williamson. So that's for Luke. Now for Darth Maul, so in this one, he says, as for Darth Maul, very few stories existed about his youth, so I was fortunate that Lucasfilm allowed me to expand his biography quite a bit. If there's one thing all my Star Wars biographies have in common, it's that they begin with the characters when they're older and then go back to when they were younger and proceed from there, showing how the characters mature. But I wouldn't say the biographies are totally formulaic because each character is so different. Lucasfilm may have encouraged greater leeway of the expanded universe after the Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, but I'm not sure my approach has changed that much with the other books. So basically, it's with Darth Maul where he had the most freedom in terms of writing new stuff, because there was barely anything in regards to Maul's origins versus the other 3. So that's what Ryder Windham said in the interview.
You know, the bit with the Anakin Vader one is so bizarre, because most of the Scholastic books make some deep cut references to EU material.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's bizarre. But okay, so Windham basically had basically a lot of creative input into Wrath of Darth Maul, so there is that.
You'd be surprised to know that there's 2 other questions in regards to the survival of Darth Maul. Yeah, there's actually one asking him about that one. Okay, first, First, they ask him if this book comes out right before the Phantom Menace was releasing in 3D and just before Darth Maul makes his return in the Clone Wars. They asked if this was the reason that Darth Maul was chosen as the next biography for the book, and Ryder Windham says, yes, definitely. When I got the assignment, someone, I can't remember who, told me that Darth Maul was going to be the Star Wars poster boy for 2012. He's everywhere.
It's a corporate mandate.
So that's one.
I was right.
So that's one. Now for the resurrection in the TCW. So here it is. Although Maul was resurrected for the Clone Wars TV series, the Wrath of Darth Maul is the first story to reveal his survival after the events of the Phantom Menace. Did this affect the story you wanted to tell? And then, oh, here's an interesting one. He says, unless one considers Darth Maul's appearance in the Visionaries comic book as canon, yes, I think the Wrath of Darth Maul is the first official Maul survives story to appear in print. The Clone Wars episode definitely helped shape Wrath, giving me various story ideas as well as a neat prologue and epilogue. I didn't have any preconceived notions about the story before I learned details about Maul's resurrection, so I really just took the info that Lucasfilm gave me and did my best to work with it, to shape a Maul story that worked with the Clone Wars.
Okay, so it sounds like he only had the TCW material from that, like, one episode, if not that arc. But, yeah, Maul being the Star Wars poster boy of 2012 certainly makes sense.
By the way, I watched it in 4D. It was great.
Oh, me too. I also loved it like that.
So, of course, it is funny that he mentions old wounds because I would say you have to acknowledge that comic's existence. But, it's funny he says that because now with TCW, Old Wounds is like the only ending we have for that character in the expanded universe.
I mean,
of course, Old Wounds does not line up at all with TCW, but like that's the closest thing you have to a proper conclusion to that fucking character. And it's thanks to TCW was the reason that comic can be canon at all.
If they even deem it canon. So
I mean, outside of that acknowledgement in one of those, was it like a Galaxies novella? Kinda sorta references Old Wounds.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like General Grievous, short story about like a old acquaintance of Obi-Wan Kenobi who also happened to be a cyborg.
Yeah, the story of General Grievous by Abel Peña. Yeah, I have it here. I saved that page just in case we will reference it in the future. Glad I still got it for that.
It's saying like, okay, some parts of the story is canon, I guess. And then there was the weird thing about a Iridonian scientist, resurrecting Darth Maul as a sentient hologram or some shit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, just using the remains of Maul for that, yeah.
So, yeah, there. So, Windham is contacted by Scholastic, tells him that, okay, Lucasfilm has this plan for a young reader biography. Then he gets contracted to do the next 3. He's told he's got to do the characters Lucasfilm tells him to do. But other than that, they basically give him creative freedom to do whatever the hell he wants. And because Darth Maul didn't have a lot of material on his early life, he basically got to do whatever the hell he wanted there, which definitely explains a lot.
Mm-hmm. It also explains the entire Academy segment, which, I mean, I get that restraint may have a little bit to do with it, but I have a feeling that the entire Academy, like, is that really an event that we need to know? Like, is that really something we need to know about Darth Maul's past? Like, do we really need it?
I mean, I'd argue that could have just been an easy footnote, and probably could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this could be better if it was, I don't know, written in like other life and death. I don't know, what do you call it? You know what I'm talking about? Other life and death style books where we also have a condensed version of Darth Maul Mini, Darth Maul Saboteur, Darth Maul Shadow Hunter, and make it into a book, right? That could also.
I think we should have gone more of the. Of course, granted, we do have a lot less space and word count, but like, I think we should have just done more of the Plagueis thing of, okay, here's all the Darth Maul material we have. Now let's just connect all of them and make them a cohesive whole.
Maybe at most, if we needed new material, then they should have just added a few more extra missions that just Sidious sent Maul to do. You know, some more killings. Maybe actually be in that academy, but just secretly as a killing agent or something.
You know what we really needed? Why not do what's actually important and show us how the fuck he got from Naboo to Lotho Minor? That is way more fucking important.
No, one thing I noticed compared to the old Darth Maul material versus, well, it's still old because 2011, 2012, but compared to quote-unquote new Darth Maul materials, like, there has been a more tight continuity. I mean, the EU always referenced stuff, but like, as I saw it, like, if you see Darth Maul Saboteur, right? When it ends, there's a something reference, like, wow, there's gonna be a mission about the Black Sun later, right? And then when the Darth Maul mini ends, right? There's the whole thing about, oh, I have a final mission for you, which directly leads to Shadowhunter. So like, there's like, we don't see that, right? I mean, it doesn't literally say that Saboteur, Darth Maul comic, and Shadowhunter are literally, connected back to back to back. Like, we needed more of those things.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, my big problem with this book is that, like, for the most part, it is just unnecessary. Because while, yes, we do get new stuff here, stuff that helps better set up his return in TCW, but, like, this isn't doing the Plagueis thing of, like, being this, like, rich, cohesive, connective piece for a bunch of different works. It's like, it's just, here's some stuff that doesn't really matter. And, oh, by the way, we're doing the Phantom Menace now.
You know something? There's also a bit of an answer to that, because this interview also talks about what his mind was thinking of when writing The Fury of Darth Maul, the Episode 1 Adventures, in comparison to writing The Wrath of Darth Maul. Yeah, so he said, you previously wrote about Darth Maul in The Fury of Darth Maul, a novel/game book combo from the Episode 1 Adventure series. This was one of the first EU stories to continue to focus on Maul. Did you give much thought to his background then? His answer is, no, not really. Not at the time. I never wondered what Maul might have been like as a boy, or any other details of his past. I guess I took him at face value. Back then, there may have even been a mandate to not reveal too much about Maul's past, just like Yoda's origins have always been off limits. However, I did have an indirect impact on Maul's background. In 1998, Running Press hired me to write Star Wars Episode 1 Who's Who, and for that book, Lucasfilm encouraged me to create names, speeches, and homeworks, as well as brief biographies for various members of the Jedi Council and also the Pod Racers. I came up with the word Sabrak to describe each call species, and then another writer decided the similarly hornet-headed Darth Maul should also be a Sabrak. When I first heard of a character say Sabrak on the Clone Wars, I had to grin at that.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, but what the hell is an Iridonian? What is an Iridonian?
Yeah, well...
But before we get to that next question, I just gotta say, like, what he said regarding, yeah, I took him at face value, like, that is the correct answer. That is that entire character. He was designed to be exactly the way you think he would be.
So you called it, Henson.
That was just like George Lucas's design philosophy around that character. Make this evil-looking guy who's just evil, who just does bad shit, and then boom. So, like, yes, his backstory literally is not important. Like,
yeah, let's go further into other sections.
Yeah, I mean,
once we get past Osis, then, like, we pretty much go into, like, pretty much getting to Phantom Menace, right?
Well, we gotta
Yeah.
discuss the Night Sister section before that.
Yes, there's a whole section where Talzin and some Night Sisters try to kidnap Maul, and doesn't really go anywhere, and could have been cut, honestly.
Is it really just a
mean-
footnote? Like,
I mean, that does explain one thing. I mean, because TCW, right? I mentioned this to Henson before this. TCW does not mention how Maul knows who Talzin is. I mean, the son of Dathomir does because he was separated from her when he was young. But this book does show that Darth Maul meeting Talzin for the first time, I guess. Whatever first time actually means, because Son of Dathomir is a different story. So when we see the episode, right, where Maul knows who Mother Talzin is for some reason, right, we could say like, well, he met her in this, scholastic book, so yeah, he knows who she is.
which did Sidious tell him about her at one point, or is
Well,
he
according
just?
to this book, no.
Then how does he figure that one out? Did Talzin just contact him telepathically or something, give him visions or something?
Well, like, she's referred to by name in his presence. It's just that Sidious never told him about her prior to this event.
Then it's just something this book doesn't answer.
Well, he learns Talzin's name during this failed kidnapping. It's just that prior to it, he just didn't know. So this book explains how he knows who Talzin is prior to the events of TCW.
I guess there is that.
I mean, like I said, it doesn't really go anywhere, and like it comes and goes. It feels very much like the Sidious getting Maul bit from the Plagueis novel, where like pretty much skip it. Although, if I remember correctly, isn't it like this event that directly leads to Maul needing to kill everyone at the Academy?
Before like he leaves, and Sidious basically tells him to kill everyone.
So just
But
being
okay.
just being salty that Talzin showed up.
But although, I mean, Maul's interaction with Night Sister is an issue of its own because I think the Plagueis novel attempts to solve this, right? By saying like when a Night Sister was it from the I don't know what her name is in the Darth Maul mini, who sees Darth Maul, right? Sidious says like she would immediately recognize you as a Night Brother. Spoilers for the Darth Maul comic, she doesn't. You know why? Because a Night Brother as a concept did not exist in the year 2000.
Yeah, I mean, like that certainly is a thing. Like you read that Darth Maul miniseries, and the Night Sister is like, "Oh, do you know what I am?" Maul's like, "Yeah, you're a Night Sister," and then they fight.
And she dies.
I mean, there's nothing. There's no cultural exchange of like we're from the same, ethnic group or anything. Like, oh, you know who I am? Yeah, you're a Night Sister. So what?
That does beg the question. Would they ever try to retcon that event? Like release a new source that pretty much depicts the battle in a different way? Maybe some new dialogue or something?
Well, I mean, no.
No, Plagueis attempted to do that by saying like, well, she will recognize you are a Night Brother.
It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you have to acknowledge it because you have to. It's not going to make total sense, but like, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's nothing you can really do there.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, it's like one of the missed opportunities of Wrath of Darth Maul is like actually getting inside Maul's head during that miniseries. Like, imagine we get to a section where he's like killing everyone in Black Sun, and we get to that section like, okay, after Maul had this earlier encounter with the Night Sisters, who, with their leader seemingly knowing who he is, maybe he would have something interesting to say about, like, fighting this Night Sister. Like, something. But no, instead, the entire events of that comic miniseries is glazed over with oh yeah, Black Sun was dealt with. Anyway.
Yeah, like,
Uh, yeah.
Is there anything more to mention about Talos's involvement in here, or do we just go directly to episode 1, where the most important event from Maul's life,
so
that he got
Well, I
shot
mean,
to
just
half?
like,
there
well, I mean,
was
just
no,
like,
no.
why was this Talzin's only attempt to get him back?
Well, by the way, there was this interesting section, something like Alcine's powers are not as strong as she is here compared to Dathomir. So there's that. But
I
then,
mean, like, we see in TCW that she can just, like, trace him through magic. So, like, why is this event at Osis Academy the one time she tried to get him back prior to TCW? Like, why does it take until, like, the decimation of the Night Sister clan for her to send just Savage Opress to get him? Like, this book clearly establishes that she's willing to, like, take some Night Sisters on this fucking journey just to get this guy back. But, like, just the one time?
Apparently.
I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but, like, I feel like there's a disconnect there. Especially when you get to, like, Son of Dathomir and you learn that, oh, like, Maul is Talzin's son, and so a lot of the reason she hates Sidious is because he took her son. So, like, yeah, I don't know, like, I must be missing something here because it's just not adding up to me.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I just wonder if okay, if Disney hadn't bought Star Wars and Lucasfilm, do you guys think we would have gotten another book that further expanded on all of this, or this still would have been it?
I mean,
I would imagine this would have been it.
I mean, yeah, because regardless of whether Disney bought Star Wars or not, Star Wars continuity was already being influenced by TCW.
I mean, plus, I mean, if if George Lucas really got to make his sequel trilogy, that would have been a fucking bomb in terms of even trying to reconcile current movie and animation with the rest of the EU. So.
And then there was the whole Darth Maul video game, which got canceled.
Oh yeah,
That was
Which, like, as we know, based off of what I think it was Redfly, right?
yeah.
Like, Redfly wanted to make a game about, or prior to the Phantom Menace, about Maul's training and stuff. And then George Lucas comes in and is like, oh, Darth Maul and Talzin, make them a team because of the sequel trilogy. And when they tell him, but George, that doesn't make any sense. Talzin is like 100 years in the future. Oh, maybe this isn't Maul, it's his descendant or clone or something. And so then, like, okay. So, like, of course, the game wound up being canceled anyway. But, like, it's wild to me that, like, we would have gotten a Darth Maul game that, like, might not have even had Darth Maul, but a descendant or clone.
I mean, it probably would have been better than just having him actually survive those many years. Still kind of odd and weird, but at least it'd be something if it was a clone or a descendant.
We know that the only reason Darth Maul was brought back for TCW is because George Lucas wanted to use him in his sequel trilogy. So TCW was just a means of explaining why he's back, explaining why he's a, underworld kingpin, and then boom, get to his sequel trilogy and he's the main villain of that trilogy, and he's a big underworld crime boss.
And also, you need to know that, this would not be that much of a difference because Maul Lockdown came out in 2014. In case you didn't know, Maul Lockdown is a Disney era EU novel.
I mean, yeah, pretty much most content from crap. When did the buyout happen?
It was like
mid 2012?
The buyout was in October 2012.
Okay, so, like, everything past that is Disney, and, like, I mean, you can certainly tell there was something going on. I mean, what with the novels we were getting at that time being worthless filler for the most part, honestly. And then the Brian Wood Star Wars series just going through old ground and being also pointless. But anyway, so yeah, once you get past that Osis Academy section of Wrath of Darth Maul, then we go into Phantom Menace, right?
Yep.
Pretty much. So yeah, then we get into the Phantom Menace section, which I think is, for me, it's the worst section of this entire book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't stand Maul's characterization in this section. Like,
Whoa.
I was already iffy on it in the Osis Academy section, but okay, it can still work. Here, though, I just cannot buy for a fucking minute this characterization of Maul existing at the same time the version we see in the movie. Like, the way he acts, the way he presents himself is just not Darth Maul. Like, I've been saying it forever. Ever since reading this fucking book and getting to this section of Newt Gunray is in Padme's room. He's trying on her clothes. Maul enters, scares him out of the room. He's like, oh, this room's mine now. And then once Newt Gunray, scurries out, Maul's like, yeah, I don't actually care about getting this room. I just really wanted to do that. It's no, Darth Maul would never do that.
I mean, there's
TCW Maul.
There's a whole thing about Darth Maul in his mind, saying well, he wants to see Newt Gunray fail, but that will mean his own master's plan will fail. So he has an internal conflict.
Yeah, and then we just have other things too, like Darth Maul actively telling the Nemoidians what to do, and again, that's just not Phantom Menace Darth Maul.
I think that is more outlines based on Endgame. Yeah, we also need to ask what the hell James Susino was doing. I mean,
in previous, before GCW, has Maul ever ordered somebody or anybody else to do something for him? In Shadowhunt or any other sources? Is he actually giving orders?
That's the problem. He does. Maul is a single, a one-man army on a mission. He's not the type of person to, give people orders on how to run an army or, start an entire criminal syndicate.
Again, that characterization of Maul, although I have my issues with it, you can justify it in TCW because, he was crazy for 10 years and then his mind was fixed by Dathomirian magic. So, fine, fair enough. Here, though, Windham / Lucino, I guess, didn't need to write it that way. You are actively choosing to write Phantom Menace Darth Maul like that.
It begs the question of why.
I guess there is some good parts, because the parts where, Darth Maul was informed by Sidious who the Jedi were, which was Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and Maul's being obsessed about Qui-Gon so much that he doesn't really consider Obi-Wan to be much of a threat to be acknowledged.
I guess. Well, I guess in the way that I can see why he thinks that, but wouldn't Maul actually want to kill both because they're Jedi?
There's the thing. Obi-Wan wasn't considered much of a threat because he was a Padawan, and Qui-Gon was a Jedi Master. So, he underestimated him, which is the reason why he got his balls removed from his body.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Then, now, in regards to what you were saying, Henson, okay, is this the only book that the Nemoidians actually call Darth Maul by his Sith title, Lord Maul? Have they ever called him, but Lord Maul? What are this? What are that? They ever call him Lord Maul? Ever? Because that's news to me.
I mean, not that I recall. I mean, it would make sense given that, they call Sidious Lord Sidious, and he's a, Darth. So I guess it would make sense. It does make sense for them to refer to Maul as Lord.
I guess so. Yeah.
But I said it earlier, but like, I think a part of this that really should have been here was explaining or going into way more detail how he went from the energy shaft on Naboo all the way to a fucking junk.
There is a very good explanation for that, which
Which
is that
is
he was too angry to die.
God.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, all things considered, in terms of explaining how the hell a Sith Lord survived getting cut in half, fair enough. I mean, I don't agree with bringing Maul back, but like, there is something to be said about a Sith Lord just being so fueled with rage that he just wills himself to stay alive. And like, we do see the toll it takes on him. It's not like he got out of that unscathed. But like, what I would like to know is how the hell he wound up from Naboo to Lotho Minor. Because
Yeah.
TCW certainly doesn't fucking explain it.
And
I mean,
neither did Death Sentence.
I mean, wasn't that a comic book?
Yeah, it was one of the TCW
That was a
comics.
TCW tie-in book that didn't have the TCW branding.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there a show like where he was dropped from the plasma, whatever the hell you call it thing?
Yeah.
And he was transferred to another planet. I guess that's how it works.
Yeah, I do remember that. I'm actually looking for it because I do remember seeing that. Like, I don't remember if it was a short story. I can't recall, but I'll look into it right now.
But the scene where, Maul's like, I can't die, and, I hate Obi-Wan, that stuff, that stuff is pretty close to what's written in Endgame. Like, he was like, I can't die now, and, I must live. But the thing I found a major difference between here and Endgame is, because there was a earlier book, or earlier depiction, it removes an interesting part from a Endgame where I found, because in Endgame, Maul actually discovers that Sidious actually has a master of his own, and then his name was Hegel the Mask, which is
Yep.
not mentioned at all here. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, that little bit has, like, no place in the book. So, like, its exclusion is fair enough. But,
Oh, yes, here it is. Found it. Okay, so yeah, Sif Hunter's the one that puts it. So he falls down the shaft. Then the acid apparently, well, yeah, because there's acid, it literally burned the fuck out of him. So yeah, so he's burning. Then he's going down, and then he's in some sort of a tube that stored in it. Then it goes into a ship, and then from there he's taken, and that's it. So that's how it is. He went down the drainage. Somehow the acid didn't kill him by literally burning him, all of him. So he's just like somehow still alive. Gets into inside the tube. Then they get put in the ship, and the ship leaves. That's how he survived.
I mean, it's literally too angry to die.
It literally is that.
That's the stupidest reason.
Yeah, it literally is that. Okay. Yeah, I'll send it to you, Henson, so you can see it for yourself, and yeah. So you can also save it, because you probably will want this saved. I'll send to you the one as well.
I just...
only one consumed by the dark side of the Force would cling to life so tenaciously. I mean, there is also something to be said that, a Jedi is able to accept death, so yeah, they would die. But a Sith being so against death would, again, I would rather have Maul dead at the end of the Phantom Menace.
I mean, that's what we all prefer.
Yeah, for a multitude of reasons, that just should be how it is. But, in terms, I mean, if we look at the list of characters who were, cut or stabbed by a fucking lightsaber and survived, I would definitely say Maul's explanation, or Maul surviving, has the most justification in that, yeah, he survived, But again, if you look at where he winds up at the start of TCW, he did not leave that unscathed. Like, he's a fucking wreck in
Mentally,
TCW. Like, it wasn't a case of like, oh, you were stabbed by a lightsaber, but oh, you survived and it caused no problems whatsoever. So it's as if it never happened. At least with Maul, not only did he get fucked in the head, but he got fucking robot legs for the rest of his life. So, again, like, lasting consequences, which is more I can say for other characters, particularly in the Disney canon, who...
I mean, stuck in a planet alone with a annoying little shit around him who constantly, smart talks. And then, hitting a man who's, cut up his legs for like, how many? Let's say like 10 something years. I think it's 10 years or something. Yeah, that does something to someone psychologically.
And plus, I mean, if George Lucas comes to you and says, "Oh, we gotta bring back Darth Maul," then like, I would say he was too angry to die is literally like the only logical explanation you can come up with to justify it.
Which even that it doesn't really work that well. So
yeah,
I mean, it is just one of those things where it's like I can't really blame the TCW writers because like if George Lucas comes to you and says do this, then like you have no choice but to do it. So,
but the major thing different between this thing and Endgame, because Endgame at least ends with Darth Maul's consciousness, going black. It's like, I hate you. His consciousness goes black. That's just over. There's nothing more after that. Maybe he survived. Maybe he, maybe he's dead. Doesn't matter. Well, at least for the context of that short story. But in here, we go to the epilogue. And man, the epilogue makes it clear what this book's whole purpose is.
Which, like, to be fair, like, yeah, that is what this whole book's purpose was.
Yeah.
And you could at least, make it so like someone like approaching him. No, the book outright says it's Sabajo Press.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I suppose there is something to be said about writing that epilogue from the point of view of Maul, because Savage Opress's name is mentioned. So, like, you could have easily, or Windham could have wrote it in a way where it's like, oh, Maul sees someone. I mean, then again, he does basically write it that way, right?
Well, it goes with the hulking man claimed his name was Sabacho Press. Like Maul, he was a Sabrak. According to a press, Taliesin had transformed him into a monstrous warrior, endowed him with dark side powers, and given him the amulet and sent him in search of Maul. Maul had no recollection of the amulet, the talisman Taliesin had brushed against his bloodied arm years earlier. He didn't remember anyone named Taliesin. When Opress's starship left the planet Lotho Minor, Maul was with him. Opress plotted a course for Dathomir. He explained that they would find Taliesin on Dathomir, that Taliesin would help Maul. Maul didn't know why Taliesin would help him, but he did know that he needed help, because now he knew the identity of the person who had transformed into a monster. He knew the man was a Jedi named Obi-Wan Kenobi. If Opress and Taliesin could help Maul, they might help him find Kenobi.
Okay, so yeah, it was written from Maul's perspective, basically. So, at least there's that.
Yeah. And yeah, it's pretty much them going on the ship to remove the spiral legs and give him actual regular legs for the ones, or it's the closest to it. And then, of course, set on the revenge plan.
You know what? Looking at this epilogue makes me think about something. It's like it's so blatantly different from the other Life and Death books. Like, at least the Life and Death books have like closure. Sure, their stories might continue after that, but you see, like, the rise and fall of Darth Vader. He turns into a good guy and, moves on. Peace. You see Life and Death of Obi-Wan, Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever the hell that thing was called. You see Obi-Wan finally reaching peace after Anakin reached his redemption after his death. Closure. Like Luke Skywalker one, that thing also has closure. Oh. This thing does not have closure. This thing is baiting you to see TCW.
I mean, it is basically just a prequel to that arc. So, yeah, read this book before watching that arc.
Because it's good. Like you also read Journal. Did you also read the other Life and Legend books?
Oh, well, obviously for the ones, obviously I read the ones that we did for the videos. So, but only those. But that was
Yes.
obviously a while ago.
So it doesn't even have a. I mean, this is just personally me. Like, it doesn't even have a satisfactory ending because these other books, right? When it ends, it just ends. Maybe their story would continue beyond that. Maybe their stories would continue, but at the time, right? They find their own peace in their mind. But this thing does not end. It needs to say to. The only thing this thing misses, it says to be continued.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the issue here is the fact that, this is meant to set up Maul's return in TCW, and of course, that begins a whole character arc and journey for him. And because we haven't gotten to any of that by the time this book is released, you can't really do anything but end it. Well, give it an open ending.
Has there been actually anybody who read this book first before the episode Brothers came out? Like, is there actually somebody that read this and is like, oh, I can't wait to see where this leads to?
I'm sure there's at least one child out there.
Yeah, I guess there is one child, as Henson says, and thinks this book back in the day, reading this, waiting for that episode to come out.
I mean, I would certainly be curious to hear their thoughts. Like, we had the previous season of TCW have Talzin sending Savage Opress after someone that you see in a cracked crystal ball that looks like Darth Maul, but we're not going to say his name, but it's clearly Darth Maul. So then you're just left, oh my god, Darth Maul's coming back. And then you see this book on the shelf, and it's like, oh my god, a Darth Maul book. Mom, buy me that right now. So, buys the book, and it opens with, oh my god, so it is Darth Maul. And then you read through his entire life story, and it's like, oh my god, Maul met Talzin before. And then you get to the end, and it's like, oh my god, Savage does find Maul. And then you get to the episode airing, and it's like, oh my god, I just read this in a book! And then as a child, you feel like you're the greatest person alive because, oh my god, you're seeing the words literally animated. I mean, if I was a kid and that happened to me, I would think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be something.
I never read Revenge of the Sith before watching the movie, but I would imagine reading that book or reading any of the prequel novelizations, really, but particularly Revenge of the Sith, of reading the book and then watching the movie and then seeing all those scenes come to life, and it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then it's like, oh, so that whole section on Kashyyyk that Matthew Stover cut out for some reason, we actually get to see it here?
Fun fact about you saying that you didn't read the novelization before watching the movie. In my case, it was first playing the Game Boy Advance video game before watching the movie. So, I guess there's that.
I guess to also add this to Wrath of Darth Maul, as far as TCW tie-in goes, I haven't dived into every tie-in, but I've dabbled in a few things. This definitely ranks pretty low for me. Now, I guess to say what other TCW tie-ins I've read. Son of Dathomir, if you really want to count that, given that's adapting an unfinished arc. The Jedi Alliance DS game, lightsaber duels, the 4 Secret Missions books, and Republic Heroes. Play that
I
one for the
mean,
Wii.
there was what was it? And No Prisoners. Wait, no.
I haven't read the other novels.
Gambit
Yeah,
and
I did.
Stealth. I
Yeah,
believe it was.
I,
oh,
Oh, Gambit and
with
Siege.
those
My
are the
mistake.
only TCW tie-ins I've touched. So I would definitely say like this one's definitely low just for the fact that again it's the characterization of Maul that really gets me. Like that's the whole point of this book is his characterization, and I just do not like what Windham was going for here. So like, yeah, it definitely ranks low in the TCW tie-in department for me.
Would you
And as
be?
an EU book, it's not the worst thing ever. Like, as much as I, well, as much as I don't like this book for a multitude of reasons, at least I wasn't bored by it. The approaching storm is,
that thing is a piece of.
you know, honestly, like, it makes me want to read more of Alan Dean Foster's books because, like, God, I mean, I guess Splinter of the Mind's Eye could also be a bit boring, but, like, at least there was interesting stuff going on in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. The approaching storm was just
Boring.
why did that even exist?
His alien books are actually good, so there's that. But that's not.
Anyway, so like I've read worse books. At least this one is it's a young reader book. It's a quick read. It has some interesting stuff in there. You can read it in like, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could read it in like probably a few hours. But so at least there's that. It's not boring, and you can read it quickly. And like if you are like a massive TCW fan, you do get, you know, some good tidbits in here. If you're a fan of Darth Maul, well, if you're a fan of TCW Maul, you'd probably enjoy this. If you're a fan of pre-TCW Maul, you might enjoy it, but like me personally, it's just so hard to reconcile this with that older material.
Question, Henson. So the thing you hate the most about this book is it's Maul's character, right? It's not any.
It's his characterization here.
Yeah. So you're saying Lockdown it's worse than in here? I believe you mentioned that, or is it still the other way around?
Well, I mean, Maul Lockdown certainly fits more with the TCW portrayal because, yeah, Maul in TCW is a schemer. He's got these big plans that certainly don't fit Phantom Menace Maul, but like that's who he is now. So like Maul in Lockdown fits with TCW way more than the portrayal in Wrath. But again, in terms of which one's worse, I mean, I've only read Lockdown once, so I'd have to read it again. But just based off of memory, I would probably say Wrath of Darth Maul is worse. Few segments of him acting like a bully towards the Nemodians for like no other reason than he felt like it. And also him giving orders to the Nemoidians. Because at least in Lockdown, he's in that situation completely isolated from Sidious. But like he has no choice. But like in the Phantom Menace, Sidious is the one giving the orders there. He's the one telling the Nemoidians and Maul what to do. So I don't see Maul giving the Nemoidians orders. So I guess to put it simply, I think the Wrath of Darth Maul is worse in terms of his prequel or pre-Phantom Menace Phantom Menace characterization.
Okay. Doan, what do you think?
I mean, when it comes to reading this book, you also have to adapt to the mindset of the time. I mentioned this similar like when we read the Labyrinth of Evil, because certain information are not available, and the way it is written this way is because of what was popular at the time. So it lessens like the questionable choices written in this book when you know mentally time travel back to the past. But I would say that this book isn't as offensive like back in the day. Like Dark Plagueis, when I read that part back in the day, it was like one of the most atrocious parts I read, but now these days I'm a little more or less hostile to TCW in general. Oh, still hostile. TCW still gets my nerves certain times. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing. I read worse Star Wars books. I read worse Star Wars EU books also. So there's that.
I do gotta ask: is this Ryder Windham's worst book?
I wouldn't say this is Ryder Windham's worst book. He write like The Last Jedi novelization or something.
Which one?
Last Jedi. No, nah, he's not the one who read it.
No, he didn't do
was
that.
Jason Fry.
Yeah, it was Jason Fry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. In regards to
Well-
Disney Star Wars, he did Rogue One, Death Star Deluxe book, Stormtroopers Beyond the Armor, TIE Fighter Owners Workshop Manual, and the YT 1300 Million Falcon Owners Manual. Basically, he just did manuals and Ezra's Gamble 2014, but that's all he's done for Disney Star Wars.
I mean, there might be some weird ass, Star Wars Tales stories, but when it comes to Ryder Windham's record and its knowledge regarding Star Wars universe, he has a pretty good track.
Yeah, I mean, even though I'm not a particular fan of this book, it is still well written. It's just that, it's the characterization I have most problem with, but even putting that aside, writing-wise, it's good. Like, he is a good author. He's a good writer. It's just that certain decisions are made here that I fundamentally disagree with.
And he clearly has enough Star Wars knowledge to say, like, he knows Star Wars more than the average person. That's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do not just pull out, random sources and make, source books or reference obscure sources to write in, like the Marvel comics, like whatever the hell those pirates were in the secret missions. But
The Black Hole Pirates.
yeah, so Ryder Windham in general knows what it's doing. Well, not here though.
I mean, yeah, like, I think one of my issues here is that with the other, Life and Times books, we had the characters basically complete stories. I mean, yeah, sure, Luke still had 30 years, no, 40, what was it? No, like 30 years post Endor of a fucking life. But you can still tell basically you can tell his story up until Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But, the problem with Maul is that you have to show a lot because we didn't get a lot of this info prior. So I think this book needed to be longer, honestly. Like
An adult novel.
To give us the life and times of Darth Maul, especially if you have to create a lot of new material here, I think this needed to be longer.
An adult novel.
Like a 200-page adult novel.
Yeah.
Because, again, I think this should have gone more of the Plagueis route of, us getting to see and hear the events of a whole bunch of pre-Phantom Menace material and seeing how it all connects to one another.
That does.
Yeah, Plagueis already does that, but here we could have really hyper-fixated on Maul and really get into his head.
I was gonna ask, how would you do it without, one book seeing like it was worthless while the other one is doing the same thing but much better? Like, I was gonna ask.
I mean,
that.
honestly, I'd go so far as to say I would rather get that Darth Maul book than fucking Lockdown, which I would say is the definition of a filler book. That is literally taking an event, a footnote in the Plagueis novel, and unnecessarily giving us a 300-page novel out of something that really does not matter. Like, if Lockdown had existed prior to Plagueis, yeah, obviously it exists. Boom. Lockdown being written after Plagueis makes it pointless. Just like Razor's Edge, Honor Among Thieves, and what would have been Heir to the Jedi would have been an EU book, but released as a canon book. But again, some of the last few books within the EU were just fucking filler books. We had Dawn of the Jedi, but we know how well that era went.
Halfway concluded. I think quotations, but not really.
So, like, was Wrath of Darth Maul like one of? Well, obviously it was one of, but like, was Wrath of Darth Maul like really one of the last Scholastic books or EU books?
I'd say no. I'd say kinda, yeah, cause 2012, and then after that he just made Clone Wars Secret Missions 4, Guardians of the Chisky. Then he made Death Star Owner's Technical Manual, and after that he just made a collection of his junior novelizations into one. And from there he started working on this Star Wars with Ezra Gamble, then the Ultimate Star Wars Guidebook, and then yeah.
I'm not just referring to Ryder Windham. I'm talking about Star
No,
Wars.
I'm pretty sure it is because the other books are one of those little kids-like books, or Disney Star Wars, or Lego. So like
Wrath of Darth Maul was like one of, if not, or at least it was one of the last EU books Scholastic put out.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
fits.
Like, I mean, hold on, I gotta see like what EU book was their last.
Well, according to what I see here, it seems that the last from Scholastic was Wrath of Darth Maul. Oh wait, no, they actually did do some Disney Star Wars stuff, like Darth Vader as Sith Lord, all the way in 2017. So they did have some. So they were still doing some stuff for Star Wars, just not EU, more like for Disney Star Wars.
So, yeah, I would say this isn't the best way to go out, or not the best work to go out on. It's like how I'm trying to think here. What was the last EU novel?
I think it was locked down.
No, was it the Honor Among Thieves?
Was it?
I believe it was.
Sounds right.
Yeah,
So, like, that is like not a good final book.
Yep, it's Honor Among Thieves, March 4, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is a horrible way to go.
I mean,
honestly.
yeah, not and because Han Solo already had like 2 trilogies, and then he also had the Corellian ones, and he also had several New Jedi Order books focusing on him. The man had enough books.
Isn't
I
Han?
mean, it's as I said, the last few books were just filler books. Like, it's why they are so inconsequential to like literally anything.
Isn't Han Solo like what number 2 most most like overexposed and overutilized and overmarketed Star Wars character ever behind Darth Vader? Or is he like number 3 or number 4?
He's the cool guy. He is the badass people want. Well, not as much as Boba Fett, I think, because
I mean, Han was one of the first characters to get his own trilogy of books. Well, no, he was the first Star Wars character to get his own trilogy of books.
yeah, and that was like the 1970s.
Yeah,
And then, we had the AC Crispin trilogy in the 90s.
Yeah, the point being, the man had way too much focus for his own good.
then yeah, he's definitely number 2 behind Darth Vader.
So, yeah, it's like... Yeah, Wrath of Darth Maul, again, it's still well written. Ryder Windham's a good author, but like, in terms of like Scholastic's long history with expanded universe books, like, not a great way to go out.
Yeah, no, it's not a good one. It does kind of stink.
Yeah, like every time I, look at the last few years of the expanded universe, it gets me not in a good mood, honestly. Then again, I can say the same thing for a lot of this franchise in that fucking era. Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all I have to say on this book.
Did you say, General?
I myself don't really have anything more to say. Oh, what's up?
No, I do have something to mention. There are a couple of references to non-existent material due to the, written at the time, such as reference to the Dark Plagueis. I'm not sure what exactly, but he says the thanks page does reference Dark Plagueis outline being mentioned by, Ryder Windham himself. And then he also mentions the Endgame short story, which didn't came out back in the day because that would not come out until like the re-release of the episode 1 novel 3D.
Is that really a new connection? I think it's just more, us hearing, more of behind the scenes of what Ryder Windham was, thinking when writing the book. I think it's just more that, not an actual new connection, unless there really is something that ties into the Plagueis book, like mentioning Plagueis himself or etc.
I mean, the whole thing is referencing the Endgame is referencing Maul's events leading up to his battle with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, which is like it is really similar if you actually read the whole thing, the Endgame short story. Well, this is like a little incomplete because it was based on the outline, so there's that.
Okay. Well, then I guess there isn't anything more to say, so let's go into the conclusion then. So, who wants to go first in the conclusion?
So yeah, as I said before, biggest
Fumble.
con to this is just the characterization of Darth Maul. It's hard to reconcile this with literally anything in the EU just for that alone. It's written well, and at the very least, it's a short and quick read, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. And it's written well, so at least there's that. So, yeah, this is not a book I will ever read for fun, only for research, or if I'm ever in the mood to just read a bunch of Darth Maul material or look at TCW tie-in material. So, that's that.
Okay. Doan?
Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I read, and maybe I might revisit this for research purposes in the future. But like, if you want a good Darth Maul story, there's Saboteur, there's Shadow Hunter, there's the Darth Maul Mini 2000, and there's also Episode 1 Adventures. Like, read all those. Don't read this. I mean, if you want to read it, I'm not forcing you, but I mean, there are better options. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, then I guess there's that. As for me, well, I mean, yeah, the part that I liked the most was definitely the beginning. Seeing Maul train with D99 and Sidious stuff. Like that was the most interesting to me. It's later on where I'm just like, I mean, is this really like actually necessary? Like, yeah, I see how Maul's dealing with the academy and stuff, and how he has to pretty much kill everybody now to make sure that like there's no like leakage that there's Sith or something, and what happened to the Night Sisters. But I mean, that really could have just been a footnote in some other story. Like, honestly, it didn't really need to like have like most of the book dealing about this. Like, honestly, it's just, yeah, this really could have been its own like short story or something. It really should have. So, and because of that, and also because there's like literally no more context in how Maul survived, it doesn't build anything from what we now know with the Sith Hunters comic. That, yeah, no. Like, honestly, out of the 4 Ryder Windham life of whatever character story, this is definitely the one you can most easily skip, to be honest. Because honestly, like Rise and Fall of Darth Vader, the Life and Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the Life and Legend of Luke Skywalker, like all of those are just definitely not only better reads, even if they're just, I guess, in a way, retellings of the stories, those characters, they're still not only more interesting, but they also have more info that you actually would want to read about. Even some new actual lore tidbits that actually contribute to the entirety of the EU in a good way. So, yeah, those are definitely more worth your time to read. This one, no, unless you are really damn curious about whatever the hell Darth Maul was doing before the events of the Phantom Menace. But even then, you have Shadowhunter for that. You have the Darth Maul comic for that. You also have the Episode 1 journal for Darth Maul. Like, you already have some good amount of sources for that. So, yeah, no, this one is just... It clearly was just done for the Episode 1 3D craze. It clearly was just done for that and for TCW. So
yeah, like this is a TCW tie-in. So if you are a fan of TCW, this book is for you. Like this book was made for TCW.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're that crowd, then yeah, it's for you. If you're the Episode 1 Darth Maul crowd, then no, this ain't it. This ain't it, Chief. So yeah, so that's honestly all I have to say about this one. This really is probably it's definitely the more forgettable of the 4 books. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that, and we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars video. Bye bye.
Bye.
See ya.